Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. Here with me to dive into this report is Chikusi Ikechukwu. He's a public affairs analyst. We're so glad to have you join us.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Good afternoon.
You're looking red.
You're looking amazing too.
Thank you.
Let's go right into the reports, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Police in Edo State have detained 21 secondary school students accused of plotting a violent court attack in Benin City. The suspects are students of Ogioma Public Secondary School. Officers acted on intelligence suggesting the teenagers were preparing to assault nearby Osewende Secondary School. Weapons include knives and a metal chain were recovered during the operation. Police said the students had circulated a threatening voice note in which they boasted about starting a war, burning down the school, and attacking students and staff. The message prompted swift intervention. The suspects, aged between 14 to 17, were taken into custody for questioning. Authorities say the investigation is focused on preventing further escalation and identifying other possible participants. 8 students have been remanded in a correctional center. 13 others have been released to their parents while inquiries continue. Holistically, I want to know your thoughts on this, but let's tilt a little bit, to what we do as parents. What are parents doing about situations like this?
Before I delve into what parents are doing, I would want to express a little bit of gladness that at least it has been nipped in the bud. At least one good news came out of it. The police have been proactive in this now. But you see, the issue of what parents do about this could expose many more things. There is a general societal failure. The school, the system. In time past, when we hear of cultism, we think of universities. Suddenly, you hear of cultism in secondary schools, and these are things they do with a sense of fulfillment, as if it were a dream, sort of, to become a cultist. And unfortunately, most of the time, society seems to stand by and watch them. I mean, even those who disagree with that lifestyle find themselves helpless to do anything to handle it. Now, this raises the question, how do parents raise their children? What are the values we give to them? In schools, what are the, what are the cultures? In time past, I may not be talking about when I was in secondary school, but even preceded that time, schools used to have cultures. When you mention a particular school, and that's even what we do in the days when we had grammar schools and all that. Unfortunately, many people don't even know the meaning of those things. There's a particular culture you wanted to culture people. So how did we get to this point where it seems that culture of excellence, because I mean, if schools, at least certain schools, still maintain their culture of academic excellence, they will be careful whom they admit into schools, and even when they admit whoever they have admitted, there will be a strong guide to the student to ensure that they maintain that culture. It used to be when you mention the name of a particular school, people who are familiar with that school say, oh, I know that school, their students are this way, you can tell offhand what they are. But unfortunately, we live in a system, in a generation where things have gone south. I mean, imagine secondary school children, they were not just planning a fight, they were sending voice notes. That's terrorism. They were sending messages to the other people, threatening them that, we are coming to. I think it was sometime that I was talking to somebody. I remember vividly that I said I was grateful. One of the schools I wanted to go, okay, when we moved location, it would have been easier for my parents to change school for me. But they didn't do that because of the culture, because they appreciated the culture of the school I was attending, even though it was very far and inconveniencing for them to foot the bill, the transport fare, and all the inconvenience. But as time went by, I came to realize that that was a very good decision, because some of those schools I would have gone to turned out to be nothing but war colleges. When you talk of war colleges, the only thing is that you don't graduate into the Nigerian army, but every day, just like these schools now, I'm sure that's what happens in this school. Every Friday, you hear that these schools are fighting, and these things continue, and you wonder, the principals, the security agencies, what do they do? How has, even the state government who owns this school, why have nothing? I mean, some of these schools, you don't want to be on the road when they are going home. Apart from the number, which you can forgive that, okay, there are many since they're government school, but it's like a riotous mob moving along. When they throw things, stones, I mean, it could just hit anybody, and we can't continue. So you can imagine some of the language they said they use. They will burn down the schools. What do they know? They say war. So I'm glad some of them has been arrested, but I don't want it to end the way things usually end here. And before you know it, the matter dies. And I think this should be a wake-up call for the system, especially the schools involved, that to get to the root of this matter. If it means expelling these students, oh yes, expelling them. Nobody should say, oh, how can you expel them? If expelling them will send a strong message to the other students who will come that this is not tolerated here,
right,
I think that would go a long way in stopping them. And if possible, I mean, but the thing is that this is, like I say, goes beyond just the secondary school. Society seems to, how do I put it, seems to encourage this type of behavior. Because even
how do you mean encourage?
Yeah, even some of the people you see acting out in a political leadership and national governance, these are people whose lifestyle begs the question. So we seem to have come to that point where it appears we in a subtle way reward bad behavior. We have been enablers of bad behavior. Remember why people, some of the argument people gave for joining court back in the university day, even though it has likely proven to be wrong. They think that when you join those court groups, you make some connections that would help you after school life, but likely that has been proven to be false, because most of those guys that were in court, I mean, if you ever run into some of them now, they are not anything better. Some of them would have realized now that they wasted their life in totality. I mean, in capital, the word waste, right, in capital letters.
Right. Thank you. You have gone through the whole. You've talked about the parents. I want to draw your attention a little bit to certain factors. Number one, you know that children are born tabula rasa, unaware. The first place of interaction for a child is the home, before which they proceed to the school. Usually children spend most of their time in three places. They are either at home with their families, in the school where they learn, or in their places of religious beliefs or worship. Right? Amongst all of those three places, how and why do you think our value system is still going shallow? Do you think parents are failing now in their job of raising more balanced, aware children? Some parents will target because of poverty, because of everybody is working. Certain families have, father out of town, mother out of town, children growing up with somebody that is incapable, simply because everybody is trying to make ends meet, which will be, of course, the story for certain parents. Do you think that the school, you have said that you don't think the school is doing enough job as they were to do, but now many schools, and say for government schools, now I'm talking about it in general terms, you want to look at it from the angle where for private schools, they're trying to make an income. The idea is, can the child pass our entrance exam? And sometimes even if the child can't pass the entrance exams, well, the parents are going to pay, so we're going to take these students in. Now, do you think that this tends, let's talk about the places of religious worship. We fellowship with the brethren. The Quran has a lot of lessons for training children, and lessons children ought to learn while they're growing up, the same way the Bible does have. Do you think that the church in any way shapes the thinking, shapes the talk pattern, shapes the personality of these children while they grow up before they're being released full-time into the society?
Like you said, the mind of a person born into the world, a child is a tabula rasa. That means it is blank,
right?
Like a plain sheet of paper.
Absolutely.
Then socialization and acculturation begin to take place. The table before me is plain, begin to write on it. What are you writing on it? More like coding. The morals you write on it, the values you write on it. So it's sort of garbage in, garbage out. What have we fed the mind of young people? And even as adults, what has our mind been fed with? You can't give what you don't have. If you have been fed with rubbish, you're going to transfer that rubbish to those who will listen to you. Unfortunately, your children will be one of those who would listen to you. So, now there have been a crisis with parenting. Part of what causes that is economics, but beyond the economics, there's also the thing is this: we have many people now who go into parenting not because they are prepared for it, and maybe just maybe may never even be prepared for it. I mean, if at certain age and certain level of education you are not prepared for it, when are you going to prepare for it? But if you ask me, those who are not prepared for it would have even better been left out of that job. But of course, it's not for you and I to decide who gets into that role or no. But the thing is that there is a societal failure, both from like the institutions, the government, the society, the parents. Most parents. I saw a video, I think yesterday, today, of a parent who went to school to fight a teacher for beating his child. Now a parent who does that, you're already teaching your child, whether you know it or not, that violence is a way of resolving issues. If that child turns out to be a cultist tomorrow, it is because he has found in cultism a higher means of exercising violence. So the parent may not know what they have done. Then to that teacher who have been molested, I hope molest has not just been reduced to sexual molestation. we have a way of abusing and redefining what's needed. But for that teacher who has been physically molested because he tried to make a correction. Now, I am not in support of the fact that children should be treated unkindly by the teachers. But the thing is that even if your child has been treated unkindly, there's a way to approach the matter so as not to send the wrong message either to the child or to the school. Because what you don't want is to raise a child whom nobody would correct. People will see the child doing wrong, you feel like, don't say anything or else his father will come after you. So in making your point that this is not how to treat my child, it should be carefully done so as not to pass a wrong message. So these are some of the problems we have in society when the parents who are even supposed to know better are violent. So like, we talked about the mind being a tabula. What have we been imputing into the mind of young people, knowingly or unknowingly? Those who have gone the wrong way, how have we tried to correct them? If we have allowed violence to persist in our society, for example, look at what happens in society. People go into terrorism, people go into militants and all sorts of violence at hand. The only way society seems to know how to correct them now is you say, you are giving repentant terrorists scholarship to study abroad. What are you saying? You're saying that it's rewarding. If the guy who has lived peacefully, worked very hard, has not been rewarded by the state, the guy who has been violent, made people, all sorts of things, is rewarded with a scholarship, is rewarded. You're telling the next guy, saying the other guy is seeing it somehow in his mind. You are inputting something that, if I had gone through this route, as far as I survived, I probably would have benefited from this system now.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. 54-year-old man Edward Ngozi Odega has been arrested by the Delta State Police Command for alleged incestuous acts with his 3 daughters aged between 13 and 24. The suspect reportedly started the sexual abuse when his eldest daughter was just 12. The police spokesperson, SP Bright Edafe, described the incident as sad. The father's crimes were exposed following a school outreach organized by CSP Temi Agbede Zukomo of Ogborikoko Division, Zokumo, addressed senior students, urging them not to conceal abuse. one of Odega's daughters, aged 15, was noticed crying by a friend after the talk. The girl confessed her father was having a sexual relationship with her. The friend then revealed Odega had also abused her when she visited. The investigation led to the father's arrest and the discovery of incestuous acts with his 2 other daughters. Odega confessed to the police, stating he started the abuse 7 years ago. It is just an evil urge. I have 3 daughters and I have slept with all of them, he admitted. The other's daughter, aged 24, stated her father began sleeping with her when she was just 12 and in primary 6. She admitted she kept silent due to shame. The 15-year-old victim confirmed the police outreach prompted her to finally open up to her classmates. Commissioner of Police Olufemi Abaniwanda has ordered a full investigation into the case. Now, last week, we did take a report on Society Watch where we talked about the father that was wrongly accused by his wife for having sexual relationship with his toddler daughters, I think 2 years and 5 years. Today we have a man having full coitus with his daughters, 3 of them, 13 to 25. Why do you think this has become on the rise? Why have we become a society of people where fathers were meant to be seen as the figurehead, as the guardians, as the protectors of family, have rather become the perpetrators of such violent acts? Let's talk about it.
Society is in decline, moral-wise. Society is in decline. Family, like for example, this family, I would want to ask, where is the mother of these children? The friend of one of the doctors that affirmed that when she came visiting her friend, she was also molested by the man. Where are her parents? Did she not say anything to her parents? What was their reaction? Did she not say anything to the teachers? I mean, if she couldn't talk to the teachers, what of her own parents? Couldn't she have? I mean, I just think something is wrong the way people have been raised. Again,
wrong from the perspective of the victims, or wrong from the perspective of parenting?
On both sides. Like I would always say, the blame is enough to go around, both to the parents. I mean, how would you have trained your child that your child, when visiting a friend, she was harassed, whether she or he was harassed by the friend's parents, and she came back home and didn't mention it to either of the parents? Or don't she live with her parents? Even if she don't live with her parents, she live with guidance. Is there nobody she would have spoken to that I went to visit so person? This transpired. Even the parents, don't they ask, where did you go to? I mean, I would have thought that as a child, when you're going out, even as an adult, there is that tendency to say, oh, I'm going so place, and you come back, your parents ask you, you went to see so person. Did you see his parents? Did you see her parents? Yes. How are they? You know, simple question that could prompt a discussion. You went to see XYZ friend. How is his parents? Maybe that would have prompted that. Or is it that they don't care altogether, that their daughter went out, came back? I mean, the girl there, how has she been taught? If she has been properly trained to communicate, she would have known that certain things, if they happen, you need to talk to someone. I mean, if the mass children are afraid to talk, what of this third party?
Now let's talk a little bit about the third party. There is a full-scale research by the United Nations where they talked about why African societies, as it were, have many children more scared to talk to their parents about sexual relations for first reasons, because African parents barely want to talk about sexual relations with their children.
But this is not a sexual relation.
Now, when that has happened, children are more afraid, per the report, that children are more afraid to have these conversations because they believe their parents are going to disbelieve them. Right. So, per this report that was carried out by the United Nations, do you think that could have posed a reason? And I also want to drag your attention a little bit to the fact that sometimes, even though these children might want to talk to their parents, the room, the avenue to have these conversations? Do you think that we are now in the point where to have these conversations are pretty hard, especially certain parents walking around the clock, coming back burnt out, there is no room, parents are constantly angry. Many people around Nigeria these days are constantly angry and not finding enough time or a good room to share this experience.
You see, people should prioritize parenting for whatever you do. If you have made up your mind to go into parenting, in fact, whether it was foisted on you or you sat down and planned it out, once you find yourself into it, just know you owe that being you have brought into the world some responsibility. I know it must not always be easy, no doubt about that. Nobody is going to pretend that, oh, because you are a father, everything is going to go rosy for you. But in the midst of that challenge, find out time, even if it is, 2 minutes of your time. I mean, both parents can be too busy that they don't find time to talk to their child. And you say, maybe what if they are single parenting? I think it's even more of the responsibility even becomes clearer to me if I'm a single parent, that, okay, I know that this child have no other person to talk to other than me. So I'll try as much as possible to bridge the gap. For example, I know that I'm the father, I'm the mother, so I'm not expecting. There is no point telling that child that there is no mother. You say, oh, go and talk to your mother. Whatever she can't tell me, that means she can't tell her parents, because I know that I'm the only parent here now. So, I mean, as much as the pressure is on me, I should have that time to say, even if it is, at least let me hear the most important things in your life, and also teach the children what are the important things as they grow. That let them know certain things. There are certain things that if it happens, I must know. You see, to that report about not talking to your parents about relationship, I think that's a little bit of a different thing, because when you say relationship, it suggests a consensual relationship.
No,
even though they are,
a young child it's not possible for a young child to give consent.
Even though they are minors, 17, let's say 17 in the same class, that they have that. They have started developing, they feel like, okay, that we can say, okay, maybe somehow they have a sense that what they are doing is not right, so they may not want to talk about it to their parents. So we can say relationship, but being molested cannot be called a relationship. And this is where I'm coming. People should be taught that the moment you are molested, let your parents know. I mean, that could even drive it, even if that molestation comes from your own peers. Let me.
What if the molestation comes from your parents?
Now that's where, yes, I'm coming to that. I'm actually talking of the third party now. Now it comes from the parent. Now, what of the child, these children? Where are their mother?
What if she's not available?
Nothing has been said about the mother here.
It's possible she's no longer in the picture.
She's no longer in the picture, and that could be for various reasons. I mean, there is the death question, there could be the separation question, and another. But the way African society is struck, okay, let me say Nigerian society, and that name sounds Igbo name, of course, things are falling apart very fast. But before the things fell apart to that point, the children whose mother are not around for whatever reason, naturally, in African society, but for things falling apart, there are some people who just take it upon, who are part of your family, who just know that, oh, these children, their mom is not around now. So it falls on us to play that role for them. They may not play it 100%. Now, this is where I think society is failing people. So if that situation had been there, these children would have had somebody, either from their mother's side or from their father's side, who they can go to. Especially for those girl children as they're growing, a woman who would take it upon herself to say, oh, so thing, have you started experiencing so thing, make them talk. But obviously society is failing them. So if those children can't talk to their father, and in this case the father is a culprit, nobody to talk to, and it's quite unfortunate. Thank God for this outreach by the police. I wish we could see more of such outreach, not necessarily just from the police, but from civil society organization that could sort of open up people to talk.
Thank you so much. So I read an article by the Read Age Foundation where they were trying to drive a policy change as regards sex education being taught in schools as early as possible. Do you think that will help us recognize these things early? save for those people going to the school, this child might have lived like this till she becomes her 25-year-old sister.
Probably be damaged.
Be damaged. The entire trauma was basically the reason she was crying, right? Do you think we should call for a society where sex education is taught early? So people know that even if it's your parent, and I'm talking about this from the angle from which, that paper did present, where they talked about counselors in schools, stationed, the ones that are not necessarily, family, that would be easy for these children to go and say, okay, ABCD thing happened to me at home. This was done to me here. This was done to me there. Do you think it would give us, a better system where young people will be able to talk freely and report cases of abuse when it occurs?
Theoretically, I would say yes. But if you look at how society has been, I'm talking about Nigerian society in particular, you see, we have this concept of making everything more mere theory and rituals. If we just go by that, the ritual of having counselors in school, because it's a requirement to be fulfilled, we may not get the best out of it. I have seen counselors, both at university and secondary school, who themselves need to be counseled. Yeah. So if you get such a person to be a counselor, one of the characteristics of a counselor, if you ask me, is the ability to keep your mouth shut on certain cases. I mean, only say things as far as they are needed.
Absolutely. To
cause a change. But where you have a counselor, and I've seen this quite a few times, where the children are afraid of talking to her because anything we say to her, she will tell her friends.
Oh no.
That becomes a terrible thing. Now, if you have an inaccessible counselor,
what do you mean by an inaccessible counselor?
He's a counselor, there's an office there, but the children are afraid of you passing by her corridor because he or she has, sorry I'm using the word she, but most counselors I've seen in secondary schools are female counselors, but he or she has become Lord of the Manor, He has become sort of a god, a fault finder. As if you are not finding fault with the intention of making corrections, but I'm trying to look for the right words now. But you just have that inaccessible
demeanor.
Yeah. So it becomes a problem. So such a school, do they have a counselor? Yes. Can the student go to him or her? No. Has he or she bothered to find out if the student don't come, like they say, if the mountain don't go to Mohammed will go to the mountain? Are you sure he or she bothered to find out that why are these children not coming to me? Has he bothered to make him or herself accessible? I knew of a student, I'm trying to remember the word they call them in university now, more like a counselor also, yes, student advisor in a particular department in the university back then. The only time he spoke to the student was when somebody died in the department. After the usual procession in honor of the fallen students with the singing, when I remember so water through away my eyes, and they go to the department, he comes out and say, well, I know this is a very terrible time for you, horrible time, but you must move on. That's all the counselor, all the counseling he offers.
Is that a failure in their training, or is it a failure on the system?
It's a failure in the system. I think there should be a KPI, key performance index. Okay, if you're a counselor, how have you been able, who have you spoken to? And I mean, because it's easy for you to see in a system, you see students who are not doing well in the academics. Absolutely. Who have they spoken to? You see students, that child that comes to school late every day. Has the counselor noticed that this child comes late to school? I mean, counseling students may not even just be for sexual abuse. I understand you come late every day. Can I see you? What's the matter? Why do you come late every day? It may just be a simple thing on how to tweak your timing. It may be something, okay, I have to talk to your parents about that. Oh, please, so, But, so, like I said, if we just make it a mere ritual, even sex education, we just have it in school, especially in this era of, politicians can be wonderful. If you have sex education in school, that means we employ more teachers to teach sex education. We will create more jobs. Oh, yes. So who are we going to employ? Those guys that helped us during the election. who themselves might be sex predators, but you just want to create job and to be seen as doing something, and the guy comes, you know, he's not offering anybody any sex education, even the one that is not a predator. He himself doesn't even understand why there should be a sex education in the system. Then the school management is just looking at it as if you guys have introduced some devilish subjects. So do we need these things? Yes, but we must go beyond the ritual of just having it. We have to make people understand why there should be sex education and get the right kind of people to teach it. Get the right kind of people to play counselors in school, not just a ritual so that you tick the book when there is an audit. Do you have a counselor in your school? You remember Mrs. So, you tick yes, we have one. Do you have sex education? You tick. And just for the ticking, nothing more. That will not help solve the problem.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. The Lagos State government has arrested 15 street beggars during enforcement operations at Ikosi Ketu and Mile 12. Officials say the move is part of ongoing efforts to maintain order and protect public spaces. Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, said the operation aims to curb activities that compromise safety and cleanliness. He noted that the state will continue to enforce relevant laws while working with social welfare agencies to support rehabilitation. Authorities stress that Lagos must remain safe and orderly for residents, commuters, and businesses. The government reiterated its commitment to sustained enforcement. Friday's operation follows similar actions earlier in the week, targeting environmental and public safety violations across the state. 8 suspected phone snatchers were arrested on Thursday during a raid on the Mile 2 pedestrian bridge and later sentenced to 6 months in prison. Officials said more operations will be conducted to reduce street begging and other unlawful activities in high traffic areas. Usually around Nigeria, I did see a video where beggars now have an identity card to show that you're part of the Association of Nigerian Beggars. When you think about that, what are your thoughts on this report?
Well, something caught my attention before I come to the beggars. People arrested for suspected phone snatching and were sentenced to 6 months.
6 months.
You sentence them on the ground of suspect, or the investigation has been done now and they were convicted of phone snatching. I don't get it. Were they still suspect? Do you sentence suspects or those that have been, you know, or could it be that the report is wrong?
I think it was probably court-martialed real quick, you know, go to court.
Whether it is court-martial or not, I can suspect anybody. You come to me in such a way I don't like. Feel like you want to snatch my phone. You are a suspect, right?
Right.
Then you are arrested and you are sentenced on the ground that I suspected you.
I mean, I'm not sure, you know.
My suspect becomes that
I'm not
powerful.
sure it's possible that a learned person like, you know, Mr. Wahab will go ahead to send people to prison without due diligence being done.
When the report says suspected. So I'm just, you know, about that word suspected. Of course, I know my 2 area very, very well. It's very notorious for all kinds of criminal activities, phone snatching, handbag snatching, bangles, you know. You just don't want to be at my 2 at certain period of the day, especially in certain locations in my 2. It's very notorious. But in spite of that, I'm concerned about having the right people going to prison. I read a story of somebody who spent 4 years awaiting trial and all this. So, you know, we should be careful. When you say suspected phone thefts were sentenced, it raises more questions than answers. I thought as at the time they were sentenced, they would have been confirmed as, you know, maybe through investigation and their own confession, it is confirmed that these guys are thieves, whether it is phone theft or any other form of thief. They are pickpocketers or something they contravene a law, not just being suspect on accusation. Then the issue of beggars. For some of the beggars, it is not even about the economic issues in the country, which definitely can force many people into begging. But for some of them, it may even be a career. This is what they know to do, and they do it. But you see, much as I would want our street to be cleared of beggars. But the state should also understand that we have a responsibility to these people just like every other person. So we should have social welfare system. I doubt we have enough social welfare system that when you take these people, I remember vividly talking of Lagos State during the time of, that was military era, Colonel Buba Marwa. There was a place in Lagos, is it Meron or something, where they built this place to keep beggars, then take them off the street, keep them there. I wonder what has become of those places, typical of the Nigerian thing. Well, I said that to say this, we should have, at least most society, you have a welfare system that those deserving of it are taken off the street. You don't take them off the street, maybe you take them to prison or something, you take them to a rehabilitation center, which is a welfare place where, some of them may have health issues where they can be taken care of. Some need to be rehabilitated into the society. I know that so much as it is good to get these beggars off the street, but I think we should go beyond that, because begging is actually dehumanizing. Nothing can be more. Even as a person who is not a beggar, if you have been in a situation where you are at your wit's end and you have no option, even without wearing the toga of a beggar, you have no option than to seek help from people. Most of the times that could be the most challenging thing to do. Think of somebody that is his mainstay in life. You sit under the sun every day begging. That in itself is humanizing. So it's a fine thing to get them off the street, but beyond them, getting them off the street, those of them who are there because they have no other way, society, that's why we keep calling for a better society. Society should have a way of taking care of the helpless in society. Get them off the street, get them into a place where they can be taken care of until such a time that, as you're taking care of them, for those who are able-bodied men, you make them understand that there's something they can do, whether it be helping them learn a skill, whether there is a farm or something where they can work and earn their own living. Let us even know what is the matter. Is it a house they don't have? You have societies that have hostels for the homeless people. You may not have it as your permanent resident, but every night you have somewhere you go to. It creates more dignity for the human person.
Thank you very much. Now, many of these beggars, seemingly like the ones I see on the road here in my state of residence, you find out that some of them keep having children that run after people. Basically, you see a 3-year-old chasing after you and begging. Do you think those people carry out that action? Especially by having more children, I'm talking about. I
think that's even where, if those who manage our state, our society are very careful, looking at society very well and knowing what else society. These are the ones that even cause for concern more than those ones who travel from a distance. It's as if somebody brings them to dump them to beg. This society, what is giving rise to this thing? And why they keep coming is because as they come, they are free to loiter everywhere and beg. If we have a system, our welfare systems are working, as you come in, you land on the street in a few hours, or somebody take you off the street. Whoever that is bringing, whether they're making a merchant of it, or whether they tell that, hey, go to Port Harcourt, go to Lagos, you beg and make money, they know that you can't successfully beg there. Let this begging even be for people who are at a particular time at their wit end. And like I said, we have a welfare system that takes them off, not people who make a career of it, who, you keep wondering, where do they come from every time they travel a distance to come to a particular place to beg, and it's as if they keep recruiting, as if somebody recruits them or not. Those are the things, we should be interested in, and even ask us, like I said, those who manage us, those in welfare should know what is giving rise to this. Is there a way we can stop this influx of coming? When people are coming into our state, let it be that they are coming for some economic activities. Maybe begging is an economic activities, but that's not the kind of economic activities we want. Then these children, can we take these children off them? Because those children growing up in the streets, they are a ready recruitment for criminal activities. We talk of kidnappings and all. Those are the people that can easily be kidnapped. And those are innocent children. I have nothing against them. They are very innocent children. But because they are exposed to all manner of things, they can easily be kidnapped in a system where we have ritual killings and all that. They can be kidnapped for something. They can, pedophiles can take advantage of them I mean, they are just exposed to danger. Then the weather, they are just under the weather like that. So I think we should have a more holistic arrangement how to deal with this thing so that we don't. It's even an eyesore to the society to start with, but you won't, because it's an eyesore, forget that these people are human.
Absolutely.
Also. They also need to be treated as human. So what is the best way we can deal with them? How do we get them off the street without further dehumanizing them? In the first place, begging is very, very dehumanized. There is nothing as dehumanizing as begging. So there should be a way to stop these measures. At least we may not get it 100%, but if it is a priority, you have a Ministry of Social Welfare that set goals that we want to reduce this thing, they may go a long way in getting them off the street.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio says the task of restoring peace in Plateau State and across Nigeria rests primarily on Nigerians, not foreign actors. He spoke in Jos during the reception for new members joining the APC. Representing President Bola Tinubu, Akpabio reaffirmed the administration's commitment to ending violence in Plateau and other troubled regions. He urged citizens to actively support peace-building efforts. Akpabio said genuine stability can only come from Nigerians learning to live together. He noted that without peace, development and progress cannot be achieved. The Senate President grew emotional as he addressed the ongoing killings in the state. I cry whenever I hear that a human being, whether a child or an adult, has been killed, he said, describing the loss of lives as heartbreaking for both himself and President Tinubu. We are calling on God Almighty to help us at the center to bring peace to Plateau. Anyone who will lead this state must be committed to peace. This is the only party that cares for you, he said. The Senate President recalled earlier waves of violence dating back to 2010, describing the long-running conflict as deeply damaging to communities. He pledged renewed federal efforts to restore safety and stability. Akpabio urged Plateau residents to support the government's initiatives, saying cooperation is essential to achieving lasting peace and development. Well, the Senate President was in Plateau representing the President of the Federal Republic, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he described how whenever he hears of this, crisis of people dying, he cries. What are your thoughts on this report?
My thoughts on how he cries on the killing in Plateau.
The killings in Plateau, the idea that people have been dying since 2010, and the crying and the prayer that God should come in and help us with this situation.
May I ask, what is his party's roadmap to achieving peace on the Plateau? Do they have any? Because this killing on Plateau should have featured in their campaign. I mean, it's not a problem that started, so it was there. So anybody that came to power, why this problem raged and didn't have a plan on how to solve it, won't be telling us the complete truth if you say you cry when each time you hear the killing. That cry is not a godly tears. It has not prompted you to work out solution. Now, you see this issue of telling Nigerians to live together, learn to live with their neighbors, learn to live with your killer. That's like telling a victim of an abusive marriage. I wanted to say a woman, just came on that men can also be victims of abusive marriage. To telling a victim of abusive marriage to learn to live peacefully with your spouse when the spouse is a dagger drawn every time. And I tell you, learn to live peacefully with him or with her. I say learn to live peacefully. These are victims. The attackers should be stopped, not telling the victims to learn to live peacefully with them. The only way to learn to live peacefully with them is to accept to go 6 feet. The grave, which they have been doing, whether they accept it or not. Those guys have been attacking and killing them. So I don't think he's completely correct. I mean, he went for a party jamboree. How many times has he gone to the Plateau to see what is happening there? But he could find time to go for party activities and then as a side talk. Oh, I cry every time I hear people die. What does that mean?
Meaning that the government is emotional towards the pain of it.
Oh, you see, the thing is this. Some problems cannot be solved by emotions. If somebody is sick, you are in pains, the best way to help you is not by joining you to cry. Is to get a professional doctor. I mean, somebody needs a surgery and is in a theater bed.
Right.
All you need is a professional surgeon to come cut what should be cut and fix it. You don't need the community to gather together and cry. Especially, I mean, if that is all they can do, we can forgive them. Well, you can imagine getting the doctor and the doctor comes in and joins everybody in crying. What's here about you say, oh, we are calling on God? When you campaigned, you didn't tell us, we didn't vote you to go call on God. Am I disputing you should call on God? Call on God all you want. I do call on God also. But there's a reason why you were elected. You said you were going to do something. Go do it. One of the reasons you were elected was not to call on God. I mean, if all we wanted was who to call on God, we probably would have gone to the various religious places scattered all over the country and do the calling on God. We won't need to elect people to do that for us.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. And this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Society Watch. Thank you, Chukwu, for coming and giving us good insights.
Pleasure is mine.
We are open for sponsorship of this program, jingles and advert placements, news and events coverage, personality, society, and political interviews, product service promotion, and commercials. You can watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're also on Apple TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, Infotech platform, Apple TV, Niger TV, and Iroko TV. Connect with us on all our ATN socials. Subscribe, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. You can find us on X on Atlantic TV Net. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Otaria Benjamin. Stay with us. Up next is International Tidbits.